Deuce-to-Seven Triple Draw Lowball has been a popular poker game for quite some time, but still remains intimidating to many players who are used to flop-based games like Texas Hold'em and Omaha, or the many variations of stud. Card Player TV turned to 2012 World Series of Poker Deuce-to-Seven Triple Draw bracelet winner Randy Ohel for some basic tips on the game. First off, we asked Ohel for some advice regarding starting hands.
I would say for beginning players, certainly in the early positions, don't play hands without deuces in them. Don't draw to nines. So you want ideally a deuce, a wheel card, which is a 3, 4, 5, or I guess 6 or 7, and then either a 7 or an 8. And that's a good place to start for drawing 2, which is the most common draw.
Ohel mentioned that those starting hand guidelines were for early position, but emphasized that being in late position hardly gives you a free pass to forget good starting hand selection and just go wild.
Definitely can't do whatever you want because there's a fixed limit betting structure, so you can't just like blow people off of hands in the way that you can in big bet games, but you can definitely loosen up a lot more. Like you could start drawing 3 in later position and playing a little bit rougher hands. By rougher, I mean hands that aren't drawing to as good of hands.
There are times in this game that you will be dealt several low cards that might look like a good hand to novice players, but Ohel cautions that there are certain okay-looking draws that should be avoided in this game.
Yeah, you don't want to play anything with an open-ended straight draw, that's for sure. I mean, a gut shot is sometimes okay, and you don't want to start off drawing to an 8-7-6. So even 8-7-6, 2 is fairly marginal. Sometimes you'll even, raise it and discard the 8. You want a hand that can, even though an 8-7-6 will sometimes win a showdown, you don't want that to be the maximum hand you can make.
We also asked Ohel for his thoughts on the ideal way to build or structure a good lowball hand in triple draw.
You build your hands ideally from the bottom up and from the outside in. So by bottom up, I mean, even though a wheel is 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 2, 3, 4 or 2, 3, 5 or 2, 3, 7 is way, way better than 7, 5, 4. You wouldn't raise a 7, 5, 4 until like maybe the cutoff, but you would raise 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 5 or 2, 3, 7 from any position.
Finally, we asked Ohel if he had any other tips that might be helpful for beginners.
I mean, I would say a couple key pieces of information are that a jack is always a favorite on the last draw against a drawing hand, and you almost never, actually I would go so, and you'd never break a 10 against someone who's still drawing.
Thanks again to Randy Ohel for his advice for novice triple draw Deuce-to-Seven players, and thank you for watching this edition of Poker Strategy right here on Card Player TV.